Heidi ho, everyone, and welcome to a brand new week of Learn to Trade, live and free. Here's Ash. G'day, mate.
Hello, buddy.
How you doing?
How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm good. Yeah. Had a good weekend.
Awesome.
How about you?
Yeah, had a really good weekend actually. We went to the pier. We got a pier around on Brighton Beach here, so we went to the pier yesterday, just playing some of the 2p slot machines. And I thought of you actually. You know, the sort of getting your initial appetite for a bit of gambling. I was trying to get my daughter to kind of put her 2p slot machines in to make more money. It was it was fun.
They're the worst things on the planet, mate.
Well, the 2p one.
Anyone?
Oh, not a slot machine is in the one-arm bandit. You know when the penny drops down the wall, and then it pushes the 2p's out, and sometimes there's a little prize in there. So yeah, went there.
Actually, there's a show. There's a British show on that, isn't there?
That's right, Tipping Point, I think it's called.
Tipping Point. That's it.
Yeah. They'll make a show out of anything, won't they?
Afternoon television here. Yeah. I've noticed.
They'll make a show out of flipping a coin heads and tails one day. I think it's just they really will make a show out of anything.
Why not? Mate, there's not a very big lot of news ahead this week, but a couple of things that are worthy of our attention, of course. Big week for the Aussie.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we've got the RBA statement and also the budget. Wow, how would you like to be delivering a budget at this time? Not me. Goodness knows what result comes out of that. There'll be more handouts, of course, I would imagine, from a government perspective, but how do they balance that, you know?
Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah, very, very difficult. Do you know what? The interesting story actually from in Reuters about the UK, you know, talking about money and you know, the fiscal situation. $174 billion each year lost in GDP for a whole decade. A research law firm has put together this report. If the UK was to go through Brexit and obviously with COVID-19, so they think a potential a huge gap in the coffers if we get Brexit, because you can't stop the COVID thing. But Brexit's the one thing in their control. And Rishi Sunak has actually come out and said that he's not going to give a budget. You know, and I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? As you say, how do you give a budget? And he's chosen to say, I can't, you know, so I'm not going to bother.
Well, they're going to make it up as they go, haven't they? They have to react to whatever happens, whatever's in front of them.
Absolutely.
So
do you know what?
Subject to change, I would imagine.
Yeah, and there's obviously a few other things that we've got, you know, with Donald Trump kind of getting COVID-19,
I reckon he has.
Yeah, I do. I do think he has, but
I just say that for all my conspiracy theorist friends.
Well, do you know, you're not the only person that said that to me this week.
I don't believe it for a second. Ash, he's got to have it, really.
Yeah, he's got to have it. But you know what? It was when somebody said it to me yesterday. I thought that is a really interesting spin, though. Because you know,
he'll try anything, but
he'll try anything. Yeah, and he is obviously a bender of the truth, but I'm not sure whether he go quite that far. But yeah, I think but the thing with him is that he is Teflon, isn't he? I mean, statistically, he's in that band of people that should not be able to survive this. So I woke up on Friday hearing this news, and I was like, I'm all over the market this morning. This is gonna tank. And have you seen the reaction? Just very muted. FTSE 100 has actually gapped up this morning, as has the S&P and the Nasdaq, because obviously over the weekend the news was much better. But I thought, given his age and his obesity, then we're going to get some bad news over the weekend. But you know, never underestimate Donald Trump.
He's driving around the back of the machine this morning having a wave. I said,
yeah, I know.
And all the journalists here, all they could say was, "Is he social distancing?" Really?
I know, mate. Well, they've got to find a story, haven't they? But it is funny and incredible.
Do they know what's in that machine? That car that he drives around it's like that thick with steel.
Yeah.
And don't tell me there's not a petition between the drivers and the Donald part. I won't believe that for a second.
Yeah.
We better have a look at the pound before it goes off, eh?
Yes, let's do that, mate. Let's do that.
Okay. We need an hourly chart. I don't think it's too good, actually. I was having a little look there about 5 minutes ago, and the candle that we've got to trade, this one's okay, but wow, look at that. How can we trade that? It's like 4 pips. Yeah, look, I think this is a no-go, guys. A couple of reasons. If we go short, we're trading straight into an untested daily pivot. Okay, there's 7 pips available off a 23 pip. So we'd have to reduce that. The normal TP one would be 12. We'd have to reduce that to 7. I'm just not going to trade this. And if we traded this one, we'd have to take first profit at 2 pips. Well, there's the spread. So I just can't trade this. I can't find any sense about it. So she's a no-go, I'm afraid. False alarm, non-event, do not pass go, etc., etc. So today is a wipeout for that trade. We'll monitor it, but there's no way I could actually place a trade on this seriously. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. Hang on 2 secs. I'll get rid of that one. Delete and A-OK. Now, if this goes a million miles, of course, we've done the wrong thing, but we would have had 25 pips of risk. Therefore, you've got to take profit at 12. We don't have 12. We've got about 7. By the time we're into the market with the spreads, we've probably got about 6, maybe 5. It doesn't make sense to me. If it goes, it goes. It's as simple as that. But it's got to make some sense, and that simply doesn't make any sense to me at all. So there you go. No trade on the pound this morning. If I were to be trading the pound today, what would I be thinking? I'd be asking for help, frankly. And the reason is, well, you've seen how close the daily pivot is to price. And underneath the daily pivot, very, very close to the daily pivot, is the weekly pivot. And this is going to be a bit of a theme today, I think. Very, very close together. Yes, they will be magnetic, or price will be drawn to that area. It's already there, basically, on the daily pivot. I suspect that we might even get a weekly pivot test. But I also suspect that we're going to range in here. And I don't see anything to suggest that we'll break out of this area today, apart from the fact, of course, that we do have, didn't really talk about it too much. We have some US news out later today, manufacturing PMI, or non-manufacturing PMI, sorry. And that is forecast to be around about line ball on last time. If that were to change dramatically, then perhaps we will see something of a move. But I don't think that that's going to be the case, frankly. Well, how can you predict a number? I can't. We've got Chinese.
I think that's what's keeping the market buoyant right now, because, you know, if you look through some of the data, you know, COVID had adjusted, taken out of the picture. The data's all right. You know, the data's okay. You know, the last manufacturing
especially
number from
especially in manufacturing, it's crazy.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. The ISM number last week was pretty good. Obviously, we got the ISM non-manufacturing today. We'll see what that's like. I suspect that's probably not going to be quite as good. But as you say, manufacturing is decent, isn't it? It's coming out okay. And, you know, regardless
how do you fathom? I don't know how you work that out, because they're supposed to be, you know, shutdowns all over the place. But
well, I think it's relative. That's the thing. You know, when we're looking at these numbers, they are relative to the last print. A lot of the times, are they showing growth? You know, that's what they're showing us. Is there growth? Not is there.
If month on month, yeah, you get it.
Yeah. So, and that's the point. We are growing. You know, that there is growth going across. China's numbers are really good. ISM, as I say, last week was pretty good. So, it's a tricky one. And you know, listening to what you were saying about the pound and how you don't think it's a go. I looked through the charts for hours, not the charts, sorry, the data for hours over the weekend. Because I just didn't have any ideas. I was just like, what am I going to trade this week? And I looked and I trawled and I trawled and I trawled. And even the things that I quite like aren't anywhere near where they need to be to get me into a trade. And listening to you, I was sitting there thinking, I wonder if this is indicative of the week, where it's just going to be or is this going to be one of those weeks? And I always kind of approach week 2 and 3 with slightly more caution than I would week 1 and 2. Anyway, because statistically they are my worst weeks, and everybody should bank that when I'm calling trades. Know that these 2 weeks are my worst weeks, because what I tend to do is and because of it, I just reduce my risk right down between these 2 weeks because of the statistical outcome and the probability that
it's kind of week one and a half, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, I always sort of think that I can't. I know what you mean because of when the last week started, but it's the second week of the month. According to the Monday, I don't so much like think about over trading days, but certainly over the weekend I had no clarity, and I'm coming into Monday with very little clarity of market direction, and I think it's because the data keeps coming out to being fairly decent. And yet we keep having these like little shocks. And I think if the
like
market
Trump
was
on Friday,
exactly, and if the market was a little bit lower, then I'd be more comfortable about trading it long. But because it's certainly when we're talking about the US market, because it's quite elevated, I'm a bit uncomfortable trading it long from these positions. But I'm also uncomfortable trading it short because the data's okay, and the likelihood that we get that stimulus package has probably increased as well. Over the weekend, I think Mnuchin and Pelosi are still kind of, hammering out some kind of agreement. So yeah, I looked at it and thought, I think I'm going to be working a week on data and just getting kind of ready for the following week rather than taking any positions that I'm that comfortable in this week. I mean, things change all the time in the market, but certainly, as I stood on Saturday and Sunday, I was just there thinking, I'm in the dark. And I'm not going to blow up trades just because of the necessity to trade. So I'm going to take on reduced risk or just not trade.
Yeah, look, I was very, very similar. In fact, I normally take about an hour to do my Sunday analysis, which dictates that I look at 4 charts. And same as you, I went through everything that I normally do. I went through the whole process. And all I could find was pretty much exactly what I saw last week, which hadn't panned out. To the most effect, hadn't panned out. So I'm pretty much back where I was last Monday, and nothing's happened.
Yeah.
Including the Trump thing on Friday. Yes, it created a lot of noise in the market. But at the end of the day, I think we're still back I'm still back where I was in terms of the currency pairs that I'm looking at exactly this time last week. So I get what you're saying. I don't think there's any clarity for me anyway. I think that there's a desire to find a direction, and I can probably make a case for a few of them directionally. But geez, they're not strong cases in any way, shape, or form.
No, well, maybe that's where that's you probably put it better than me, and that's probably what it is. Actually, it's that I could make a case, but a case with any confidence and strength is going to be difficult to find.
So, are you looking at anything?
I am looking at a few things. I'll bring you those bits and pieces when you finish your analysis.
Hello.
Sugar. Oh, we got you little on camera. Is she here?
She is. Tilt down a bit so she can wave at us.
Yeah, you have to wave. And you can see.
Oh, look at that. Is she adorable? Hello, Molly.
She's not having the best time of it at the minute. She's got to go to school and not wanting to go.
Oh, look, that's the best thing you can actually do is go to school. It's just the best thing. She can't hear me, can she?
She can't hear you, mate. No.
No.
But if we want to get some right, she's got to go. We got to get some work done. I'll be back in a moment.
All right, mate. I'll take a look at a couple of charts whilst you're gone. Righto. Let us start with. We'll get off the pound because really I can't see any point in it. To be fair. Hopefully you guys are now seeing that chart. The pound chart. Yes. Okay. Happy days. And I better say good day to everyone. I've been totally ignoring the room. My apologies for that. Hi, Alan. Morning, Shukri. G'day, Helen. Whatever happened to Zoom yesterday? Yeah, what a great question. It took me over half an hour to get into the show, eventually through 3 different links. Kiwi Swishy, 1 hour. October surprise from Helen, or she is cute. Yes, indeed, she is cute. All right, let's take a look at Kiwi Swiss. Why not? I've got very little to look at, to be honest. Kiwi Swiss. Have I got a Kiwi Swiss chart? It's a negative. Okay, we'll make one. Actually, I should have one. No. Kiwi Swissy. Actually, guys, what a good idea. Why don't you throw us up some ideas? Because I'm very, very light on. I'll take you through 4 charts that I'm looking at, but thereafter, it is very, very lean. 1 hour chart, Kiwi Swiss. Hang on, before we go to the 1 hour chart, we've got to get a little bit of context around this. And there's your context. Wow. There's not a lot there to be keen about, because we are in that very tight range, but we're bang in the middle of it. Let's have a look at the daily. So we're underneath that trend line. We bounced off last month's monthly pivot, now hugging onto it at the pivot area. There's your issue, straight away. As soon as I see 3 pivots bang on one another, I start to think that we're not going too far. And that chart there is kind of giving that to me as well. I think from the hourly chart, what you might be looking at is this beautiful little trend line through here. And I agree with it's a great trend line. I can see that. And it is giving us a few little shots. Maybe that's a better one. It's giving us a few little shots here. So we're trying to get through it, pulling back, trying to get through it, pulling back. And we're going to have another crack at it by the looks of things. The only way I would like really to trade that is if we get away from that area. So I like to see, I love this, love the gaps. And it's very, very frequent. The tests are frequent. But now we've gone into a very, very noisy situation. So what I'd much prefer to see, I'm not saying this has to happen. What I'm saying is I'd prefer to see it. You see how we're getting all of these high test bars, we're getting all these low test bars. I want to play a false break. That's what I want to play. Because to go short here is a bit of a risk, given that we have, well, I suppose in many regards, if you go to the monthly chart, let's have a look at that. In many regards, you're going against what I see as the big picture here. And the big picture here is big double bottom, big triple bottom, pretty much at the same level there. So I'm thinking higher, low, and long off the bigger picture. Go to the weekly chart where we've really come into a log jam here, and it just gets worse the tighter you go. Weekly's tight, daily's tight, 4 hourly's really tight, and to my mind, which way is it going to go? Don't know. You can see it has tried, and I totally see what you're seeing. The low test bars all over the place, and this could easily go, no question. And it's a great place to trade from. But here's what I'd like to see. It's either a break and a retest of the confluence area, and that's a big confluence area. Trade line, and all the pivots. I think it's a great place to get in the market. But I just can't take it on spec at the moment because of...
Sorry, mate, I think I might well have a trade here.
Okay.
To put in.
Happy days.
I'd like to go in light, but let's. If you finish that little bit.
Well, yeah, just to summarize, I totally see the setup, but I also see this range and the pivots very, very close together. So I want to see a breakout and retest, or false break to go that way, or false break to go that way. So I'm not ready to enter.
Okay. All right. I should have.
Helen, you never made it in. Yeah, I don't know what was going on, but there were a lot of people in the room, so I don't know.
Right. So it's on the Nasdaq, and it is a short on the Nasdaq. Let's see if we can get into this.
I had to ask you about the Nasdaq.
Oh yeah.
Paul pointed out that, well, he didn't point it out to me. He said, "Have a look at the Nasdaq." So I'll do that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try and get the best possible price here, which looks like it could be, I think 11,324, and I'm going to go in. I'm going to go in really light. I'm going to put a stop pretty tight as well, so I should get fairly instant. I think at 11,367. So as I say, I'm going to go in pretty light on this one. Let's go in at a. Let's go in at 5s. Just want to get up there. 11,325, I think, is the area I'd like to get in at. So it's 11,325, and stop loss above the daily pivots at 11,370. Let's see what we got here. So it's Nasdaq short.
Oh, I'm recording these, aren't I? I haven't.
You don't need to, mate. You can write them down if you like, but I'll update it. I need to send it over to you. Don't worry about that. Otherwise, it might get too confusing. 11,325. So I'll be happy to do it all, mate. I'll write it all up and I'll send it over to you, because you can't. Otherwise, you're starting from scratch. Wait until I've given you the spreadsheet. So the entry is 11,325 with a stop loss at 11,370, and the take profit area is going to be down here, 11,230. We'll aim for. Now let me just fix my other charts up as well, so I can get it in somewhere else. You can get in here on the Nasdaq, and it would be okay, but the reason I'm not doing that is that I don't particularly like the market today, and I wonder whether it's just going to be a bit of a back and forth. So I think 11,325 is probably the best possible price. We're under the pivots, so the setup's pretty good. I still think there's a bit of a hangover. Right, sorry, I'm just going to make sure that I am in my other ones as well. So give me a moment.
Okay. Do you want me to take over, or you're right?
Yeah, take over for a bit, as long as everybody's got that. And I will, because I've got to do some maths on my other account. It's not the simplest broker to trade with. Okay. So yeah, got a few things I've got to work out.
Too easy. All right. I'll have a look at the same thing. So Nasdaq on the 4-hour chart is what I'm looking at, and I kind of get what Paul's talking about here. So he would have been thinking Jeff can see a range here, and he's at the top of the range, and he's coming back inside it. Guessing, but that's what I see anyway. I also see this big bearish engulfing bar on the daily. On the weekly, oh yeah, okay. So I totally get it. Lower high here on the weekly. Monthly, not so much. Early, maybe a little bit early on the weekly, but the daily I get. So we have come off the top of the range on the daily. So let's see if there's an entry for me on the 4-hour. Not yet for me, but in a good spot. The pivot's a very, very good, nice place to trade from. I don't know what I want to see here. Probably that bar over here somewhere, or a little bit better than that bar over here somewhere. So a bigger tail on it, I think, would have been good for me. But yeah, I'm on board with the shorts. I totally get that. Maybe there's a little bit left in this as we go back to this level, in there somewhere, for the lower high for me. We shall see. Anyway,
yeah,
Ash is onto it.
Yeah, let me just discuss the Nasdaq in a little bit more detail, and why I quite like the short on this. I think was it LT saying about the trend line being a better spot? Absolutely right, mate. It is. It absolutely is a better price. I mean, of course it is, because it's higher. I suppose the question is, does it get up there? And the reason I think that this is okay, that this price is okay, is because of this horizontal level here and here. Now let's have a look at it on longer term time frames. Yeah, I think that's a fairly strong level there. I think that's a pretty strong level. And if we also consider, let me just blow this bar up a bit. Also consider this here. Now, of course, I might be completely wrong on this, but if we consider the low of this bar, the break of that bar, that also puts us in this area. So I'm okay with that price. And if it pops up, but yeah, if you can get the trend line, then that would be a much better price. To be honest, it's only 12 pips away from where my entry has been set to. So when you think of the Nasdaq, 12 pips is not a great deal. When we're aiming for about 100, and the stop loss is now it's about 45, 46. So we're looking for a 2-to-1. We get an extra 12 pips out of it. That's going to make it a 30, 34. And 100. So that, yeah, you're looking from almost a 2 to just over a 2-to-1 to nearer a 3-to-1. So yeah, I get what you're saying for sure. And if you can get the trend line, then by all means, that of course is a much better price. It's that little bit higher. Not much better price. It's a better price. It's a little bit higher. So if you can get it, get it. I just don't know whether it's going to go there. And also, we could go all day trying to find exactly where it is. There's another trend line there. Could quite easily pop into that area. And beyond. But it looks weak. Anyway, that wasn't my point that I was going to make, but you're absolutely right. That's the first thing that I wanted to say on that. The second thing really is that let's consider the Nasdaq and what we've got going on. We've got the weekly chart, and this is where I find the Nasdaq probably the most telling, is this bar here. I don't like where it is the one part of the information that's a little bit less palatable. I don't like where it appears. It's not at the top of a trend. It's kind of in the middle of a potential pullback, but it does look like it could be a potential pullback. So because I've got that, is this the indication of a lower high here? And if it is, the price action could go anywhere within this zone and still be valid. But the Nasdaq does look like it's under a bit of pressure at this particular stage. So I think the Nasdaq for a short is the way that I'd like to go. Whether I get the price or not is the question, obviously. She looks like it might be falling. It's trying to get through those lows again. Didn't quite pip us in there. If we miss it, we're going to have to miss it, and I'm okay to do that this week, because I just think there's going to be. We might not even have that much on offer. Let's have a look at the daily. The daily actually suggests 11,394. Possibly higher. 4-hourly. The 4-hourly has given us that lower high there. And is this a new lower high? Is this a left shoulder is the thing? Does it need to come up just a little bit higher to give us that formation of the right shoulder and then drop? Because that would also be going across here, that would also be somewhere that I would quite like to trade the Nasdaq with a point down there. Now, am I talking myself out of this trade? I might be. If we come there, we might only be looking at evens here. I think it might be all right for a short-term move, and it's cheap. Whereas I was going to put it on my other account, I don't think I will. But it's, you know, as I said before, week 2 and 3 doesn't tend to be my most successful week, so I'm going in really light. But I think it's okay for a move. If it pops up, then I think we should get the lower end of this this trend line down here at least. Yeah, I did see gold on the move as well. Let's have a look at gold. That's silver. Where's gold gone? It's aluminium. Where's my gold chart? Can't find gold on this one. Need a bit of XAU USD. Oh, there it is. Yes, gold is on the move. Gold is on the move. So protection doesn't seem to be in place, does it? And you know, similar to the Nasdaq in its price pattern here, we've got this high up here, and then the lower high here. Another lower high there, another lower high there, another lower high. It looks like it's forming here, and this is the better one. You know, this is the area that everybody needed it to come out of. So we've got this this pattern now looking like it's playing out. Didn't get quite as high as I would have liked on gold, but it certainly looks under pressure at this stage. Aiming for those lows down there looks kind of obvious, doesn't it? That's what it's tested. Didn't test the breakout point, or it hasn't tested the breakout point. Yep, technically speaking, gold looks okay. 4 hour looks like it's broken down. You know, now if I was going to trade this on a technical basis, I'd want it to come back to this level. And it again, you know, are we just seeing these kind of like these things forming here, where you've got the neckline, a possible bounce, and then we start coming down? You know, are we actually starting to see these head and shoulders patterns just turning up in these charts? It's the moves are quite gentle at this stage, which does suggest. I tell you what. Now, that's the one thing with the Nasdaq. So it's going to have to be a short-term opportunity with the Nasdaq. And I suspect we're looking at the same, as I said, with gold. How's silver doing? Silver also struggling today. And it looks like it's through a level as well. Yeah, it's a very, very slight risk off environment that we're going in. I mean, if we checked out things like the yen, yeah, yen's just picking up a little bit. So we are in this this risk off environment right now for sure. I think it's going to be a question of price. It's going to be a question of where we set our targets, and I don't think we're going to get a lot. I think there's just going to be a little bite, but we're going to need to make sure we get the right opportunity. And I think LT's point on choppy on the 30-minute. Oh, nice. Nice, Dennis. Nice 3-to-1 on the flow on the Nasdaq. That's awesome. Nice work. So where's the last Thursday? What was going on last Thursday? Last Thursday would have been what? Monday, Friday. This is the Thursday. So this one here, is that right? That move that we got so far, or was it before that? Sorry, that's a 4 hour. Last Thursday. Monday, Friday, Thursday. Was it a few Thursdays ago? Was it the week before? All I've got from last Thursday is this bar. Still, a 3-to-1 is a 3-to-1. That's good going. That's good going. You can't really can't grumble with that. Very quiet though, mate. You know, the price action is very gentle. I wonder whether LT we are going to end up looking at the same price in the end. The trend line that you're talking about may end up meeting price. And by the time this eventually triggers, I don't think we've got a lot to aim for here is the problem. 50's up. This is starting to look like a 1-to-1, a 1-for-1. I thought that the target would be down here, but I prefer to be more conservative now. So I'll still go for it. I'll still go for the 1-for-1, see if I can get it. But I'm going to set my target down here, and it'll probably be a bit, you know, maybe not a take profit all, you know, let's leave something on the table. But with stops at break even, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see us back up. I'd be more comfortable if it did come down a little bit later, because then I could move the stops above the trend line as a bit of a resistance point to reject again. But yeah, very, very quiet, mate. Very quiet, very non-committal. Look at, and I always kind of gauge things. You know, I often gauge things on the left-hand side here and how fast the numbers are moving. They're just going nowhere. It's really a market with very, very low volatility.
Hey, it's Monday.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it, mate? One of those Mondays as well. You know, they're not always like this, but certainly right now. Oh, one thing I was going to mention as well is that this is the other thing that I'm seeing out there, which I think is, you know, one of the reasons that I'm finding a few issues. You look at the FTSE. FTSE's above its pivots here, which is a good sign, you know. But it's not suggesting that with the FTSE that it's coming down with the Nasdaq, if you like. S&P right in between the pivots. And I was really going, you know, right across. The other one I quite like is a euro dollar for a short. But again, you know, pivots to get through. Not the easiest travel, you know, direction of travel at all. Gold is just, you know, popping down.
Yeah, while you're there on the euro, Sanjay's asked a question on the euro, and what you just said is very, very pertinent to me. The pivots are just telling me everything I need to know here right now.
Yeah.
Stay there. I don't see a breakout opportunity anytime soon. Sanjay, you say you're short. I think you're selling on H4. Can I ask you, if you don't mind, on what basis? Is it a test of a level, or have you got a level in mind or a setup in mind? I see a few low test bars sitting there from my point of view, but I don't see anything I'd be willing to enter on that euro dollar H4. So it'd be interesting to know what you're actually trading there.
Yeah, because I agree with Sanjay actually on the direction, but I agree with you. It's just we don't really have. It's not the easiest trade is the problem. It's got to get through the daily and weekly pivot. But I agree with you on direction. I really like this one short. And the trend line. What are you talking about down here?
There's a little trend line shooting up there.
Yeah.
From there. Yep.
Yeah, that's what you mean. Yeah, a lot to get through, but I like it. I mean, we do have a you know, again, it's another one of those. It's another distribution pattern here. You got the head and shoulders kind of forming there on the 4 hour. So
yeah, I'd be happy if the neckline broke and then retested the weekly pivot. I think that's
me
probably
too.
Reasonable.
Yeah, me too. That's what I'd be looking for. I'd be looking for trying to get in around, which won't be that far away from where we are, to be honest. But yeah, I'd be much happier if we kind of had that kind of information to go on as well. The information that I've been given right now is just confused. It's just a bit messy. But as I say, I you know, just looking across the board, it just seems like that this morning. Look at silver. you know, everything's just stacked right on top of each other here. You know, we traded copper last week, and copper's the same, stacked on the pivots, or you know, everything's just all over the place. There's no open water going on right now, so there's just very little that that we can surmise from this. Here's Bitcoin. Sorry, that's not Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin. Bitcoin, same thing. It's pivots all over the place. You could make a case up, you could make a case down. Nasdaq's the one that you know, looks like it's through some of its pivots, which I quite like. Ethereum, same thing. You know, just tricky, just very, very tricky. You know, the picture right now is just really unclear. You know, if we were looking at anything, it looks like the FTSE is through its pivots, but it's got all these areas of potential resistance to get through. But not the worst trade in the world. S&P, same thing, pivots all over the place. Love the potential for this to be a head and shoulders here, like that. Neckline, oops, that's not what I want. I want this. The neckline's on there, but I don't like the pivots. And by the time you get into this trade, is there enough room between these 2 points and where you know, likely enter to kind of get your stop loss to there? Not really, you know. So nothing is a simple prospect right now.
Yeah, I think it's very common across all charts. There is noise everywhere, and
yes, there
very
is
little clarity.
Yeah,
but you know, should we be surprised at that? You know, given what we saw on Friday, and it's not just Friday. We do have an election coming. We do have Brexit, we do have all sorts of things still going on around the place. Oh, COVID, yes, we got that too.
Yeah.
You know, is there any surprise that we're in a little bit of uncertainty at the moment? I don't think so.
No, I don't think there is. I think the interesting thing is firstly how you trade it, but also how you protect against it. You know, if you've got a portfolio, how you possibly kind of get yourself safe as well.
Yeah, I'm not in that position. I'm only trading, so it's not a huge issue for me, except that the opportunities right now are not great to get in the market.
No, this is the Hang Seng here, and who was asking about this? Dennis, again, mate, I feel the same about this one as I do the others. That the pivots are just problematic, and I think that is just the state of play right now. I think that, you know, the pivots just will potentially take you in and out of trades in a heartbeat, and the whole thing just be difficult. There's a trend line there that it hasn't really broken through, so I'll look at it in some detail and see if it tells us anything whatsoever. Monthly is, in fact, you know, this can tell you quite a lot. The first thing is it in a you know, a sell zone on the monthly? No, it's not. It's kind of on its way, isn't it? Is it in a buy zone? No, it's not. It's got to come down a bit further, and it suggests it will come down a bit further on the monthly, but it's right in the middle of the trend area. So almost the worst possible point to try and take anything. There's a potential trend line here that it's broken through, and possibly with a retest that continues the move from here. Personally, I'd like it a little bit higher. And with this kind of thing, I'm never really surprised when, you know, it's broken through a trend line and you get a possible entry, but then the very next day it kind of comes back up again, it goes back down again, and then it ends up testing that trend line up there. So still remaining valid while also testing this this horizontal level, and then you get your entry to the downside. So I'd also be waiting for this one to potentially form, you know, my pattern as well, and I just don't think that there is, you know, it's there, and that's the issue. That's the issue with trading today. But if you're asking about the opinion longer term, you know, maybe in the medium term rather than long term, in the medium term, as in by the end of the week, then I'll be looking for downside in the Hang Seng. But I don't think I'd be looking today. I think I'd be looking on at this level here, and if I can get confluence between that level and the trend line, then I'll be a lot more interested. Let's just check a fib of last week's range. 50% is up at 24,410, somewhere around there. So 24,410 becomes of interest, but here, not really interested. And as I say, I've put in an order on the Nasdaq, and I'm not going to cancel it because I keep looking through and thinking the only case I can make for the Nasdaq going long are the other markets. But the Nasdaq itself, technically speaking, for a short-term move, looks all right. So I might just take a little, try and get just a short-term move out of it, but only if it comes to price. And actually, if it doesn't come to price, the risk to reward isn't worth it. I'm happy to take an even money trade if that's all that's on offer. But I'm not going under that. So yeah, Hang Seng I like, and I think a lot of these equities are showing these just signs of creaking a little bit without really showing us too much. And I think no different to the Nasdaq and the FTSE and the Hang Seng and probably the S&P as well, where the Nasdaq looks okay. By the end of the week for a short, but maybe right now is not the time. And when we got an ISM non-manufacturing number, which is more in line with the Nasdaq, is it going to go anywhere? Is it likely to go anywhere today? And my personal take on it would be probably not. I don't think it's going to break down. And this isn't the best sell zone. That's some of the issue. It's not the best area for a sell, but it might be okay. If we were looking at this on a 15, it looks like an okay sell zone, doesn't it? To maybe get down to at least test the lower level here. But even that's getting a bit shallow. You know what? That's going to have to come out. That's getting too shallow now. Yeah, I've cancelled the order. So I've cancelled the order on the Nasdaq. Feel free to do with it what you will. You may well have a trade that comes down, but it's just not it's not good enough room for a decent risk to reward ratio from the first possible level of support here. And there's a decent chance it bounces off first level of support because of ISM coming out and the fact that we're getting literally no liquidity in this market. There's no volatility at all. Opportunities are light at this particular stage from what I can see.
And I think that's what we're going to see for the day. I think we're going to bump into, it's like dodgem cars. We're going to bump into something and then bump back off it and bounce off this and then bounce off that again and bump off that. And at the end of the day, you go around in circles and get nowhere.
Yeah, agreed.
Dodgem car. I'll call it a dodgem car market. There you
go. Like it, mate. Like it. Well christened.
Hang on, we'll just lock that one up in patent as well. Shall I take a look at what I'm not looking at?
Yeah, mate. But by all means, do it. I mean, I think for the good people in the room, I think we've expressed fairly succinctly that there's not really a lot to do. So yeah, by all means, have a quick look around. Let's have another cursory look across the board. If you guys have got anything that else you want to look at, of course we will look at that stuff. But if you're in a similar situation to us, where we just think, let's just get away from the charts and do something else. We can still do some work, but let's do some work on preparation rather than trying to find trades that we're not prepared for because we're just looking to trade. Then we'll just wrap it up early. But let's have a cursory look through, mates. And if nobody else has got any suggestions, then let's wrap up about 10 minutes before time today.
Yep. Sanjay, I will have a look at Aussie Swissy in a minute. But this is the dollar index, right? And you can see what's happened over the last 4 days. You throw Trump COVID in there as well. And that was Friday. Now we're just in a complete holding pattern at a support level. So whether we go through it and go to the next level, which is the trend line, or whether we go back to this is anybody's guess at the moment, in my humble opinion anyway. Maybe if things got serious with Trump, we might see a big move. Maybe if he... no, I won't go to the absolute extremes, but I think maybe there's a fair bit that will revolve around Trump in the next few days as far as the dollar index is concerned. And maybe we'll see a move, maybe. But which way? It's a toss of a coin. And for that reason, it's so hard to trade things like the pound against the dollar at the moment, in my humble opinion, because of Brexit and because of Trump. You throw those two things in together, and my goodness me, there's a recipe for I don't know what, but it's got nothing to do with certainty. I can totally assure you that. So that's why I think it's very, very difficult to draw a line across certainly the US dollar at the moment. And when I say at the moment, I've been thinking that way for the months. I remember back up here where I was looking for a price to come back to the trade line, and looking for price to come back to the trade line, and looking for price to come back to the trend line, or they're actually a trend, and they're again looking for it to come back to the trend line. It never did until down here. And that's why we were looking at that 95 level quite interesting. And sure enough, it hit that trend line, bang, away it went. But right now, we're dead set in the middle of one or the other. So, really, it's totally uncertain to me in terms of technically how we get there. And then throw in the fundamentals, and, well, you're asking a lot of yourself to actually find a reason to trade there. There's the pound that we refused to trade, and the reason we refused to trade it was because of exactly what you're seeing before your very eyes. We could have taken 11 pips of profit, which would have been half of the risk, or not quite half of the risk, but you can't do that. We would have had to take 7 pips of profit, and then if the spreads took us maybe 5 or 6, in which case you would now be out of that trade. For a break-even trade. So that's pretty much exactly what I saw, and almost to the letter of what we're talking about. Trying to trade at the moment on intraday charts is fraught with danger, because you've got these strong support levels. You've got the pivots all over the place on many, many charts. And for that reason, it is a tough assignment. So absolutely, I'd much prefer not to be trading today right now anyway. Now, Aussie Swissy, I said I'd have a look at that for you, Sanjay. Now, this is in exactly the same scenario. Let me go tighter on that, where you see the monthly pivot, the daily pivot, and the weekly pivot, bang, just jammed up like a log jam. In terms of a directional bias, if I have one, it's probably to the high side, short term. And the reason for that is, if I go a little bit wider here, is that the range that we've been in since May, let me put a box around that. You could probably start here somewhere. And I mean, I suppose that black line, which is the strong support level, is indicative of the bottom of that range. I'm okay with that. But the last thing we did was bounce off the bottom of that range, and now by definition I'm looking for it to go to the top, and therefore a higher low. Now we do have that sitting there with a candle that I do like. That's the daily chart. But when I see a high test bar that precedes it coming off the monthly pivot, which is now both last month and this month's monthly pivot, I tend to think that there's a little bit of indecision there that I don't want to be a party to. And there's also a strong level through here, a strong horizontal level, which has been resistance, 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 support, support. And now we're back here, support underneath it. So to go long here at the moment is also fraught with danger. And your first level of resistance is being here, just dead ahead. So there's no reward available there for us either. Now, is it worth the risk? I don't believe so, because to me it's not clear enough. If it were clear, then okay, I'd be on board, and I'd be willing to trade that to the top. But the monthly pivot is definitely an issue, as is the high test bar that precedes the low test bar. Now, you're thinking short, I think. Well, yeah, selling on the daily chart. Now, I'm guessing that you're trading based on that bar there, which is, of course, a rejection of the monthly pivots, as I said, and a lower high based on this area here. So I get what you're seeing, but just like Ash and I have been talking about, I can make a case for the short, but I can certainly make a case for the long as well, based on this candle here, as I just said. So if it's not clear, then I don't want to trade it. It's really, really a market for watching and waiting and seeing what happens, in my opinion. If you've got a firm belief that, and a firm reason, or two or three, to suggest that you've got a trade on your hands, then by all means trade it. Don't let me or Ash or God talk you out of it. And that's always the case. If you've got a good reason, a good set of reasons to take the trade, take the trade. But I don't see it. I just don't right now. I think it's a very dangerous market to be getting into. Okay, so all of that said, let's update a couple of things. Euro pound, we're still in euro pound, and that's a nice little sign there, that last little bit of that candle that's forming at the moment on the daily chart, that we may well be looking to go south. Of course, this is a long way from being certain also, because you've got candles that are doing weird and wonderful things. The good part about this is if it does reject those pivots, you've got the three of them there, it's an excellent place to go short. Unlike what we've seen, let's go back to that Aussie Swiss chart and make a comparison, shall we? Aussie Swiss, where you've got high test, low test, all the pivots close together, and we are in between them, in between the monthly pivot and the weekly pivot prices. We switch to euro pound, we are underneath the pivots, all three of them, and we have a rejection bar. If I see that close, then I can definitely see, I can definitely make a case for a short here without any problems at all. But at the moment, I have to wait for that to close and see exactly what happens. So my thought process is, yes, we do have a potential setup. We're already in the trade, of course. This might be a good scaling point, but at the moment, I have to wait, and I'm happy to do that. Swissy yen's the other one that we're in. I think the only thing saving us here is the monthly pivot. When I say saving us, it's saving our trailing stop, because we can only win here. It's a matter of how much. We have taken profit twice. No, we haven't. We've taken profit once, sorry. But our stop loss is well below entry. Did we take profit twice? No, we didn't. We missed it down here. That's right. Okay, so we've only taken one lot of profit, but our stop loss is well below entry, so it will be a winner, no question. Would I like to see it hit the stop loss? No, of course not. But there's every chance that it will, and go to this trend line here. So I'm prepared for that. And if it does, then we'll look to get back in at that point. This is the issue that I'm having with the market. And it's not just now. It's not just this week. It's been an issue for weeks and weeks. Getting a nice breakout, if you like, or follow through of the lower highs and the higher lows as potential reversals, but then they're coming back on us and they're not giving us the follow through that we're looking for. This may well, but yeah, as I said, we're relying heavily on the monthly pivot. Things I'm looking at this week, and as I said from the outset, it's pretty much a repeat of last week with a couple of exceptions, although I think I almost changed my mind overnight on that. CAD Swiss is at the top of the list this week. It was last week, number 2, I think, and we were looking to trade this long. But we were also very much aware that we'd probably get a better price than where we were. What we were looking to trade was a bounce off the bottom ultimately, which of course didn't come for me. Or if it did, I certainly wasn't in front of the charts. It went very quickly, and there's no way I could have traded that. We did have a look at it. But we're actually looking to trade long based on this breakout here, which is very, very strong breakout. Now, I still believe that is relevant, but then so is that bar right there relevant, and equally as relevant. This is why It's very, very tough, and we just haven't found a way to get into this yet. I don't suspect I'll find a way to get long here at present when you look at this chart, but it is still my want to get long. And if that means that throughout the week we have to trade it down to the bottom and look to trade it off the bottom, then happy days, who cares? But at the moment, no. But it's definitely on my watch list and number one to go long. Aussie Cads a little bit different to that, but not dissimilar in terms of what happened last week. We were looking to trade based on these three black crows here, and we thought that this was an excellent breakout of the range that we've been in at a strong resistance level, which is all the way back through there. And now I still see that that's the case. In fact, if you wanted to trade this on a weekly chart as an ABC, you could probably look at that, but your reward again down to this first level of support is very, very poor. So there's got to be a better way in, to my mind, and that's what I'll be looking for. Like this little double pump here, which has formed the second part of our trend line / trade line. But like I described on, I think it was Aussie Swiss that I was looking at, a high test, low test, that's just a no-go zone. And again, you've got the pivots very, very close together. You're landlocked, if you like, in between these two trade lines. And this does look like a false break to me, false break of the support level. So we've broken it, we've consolidated it, got back above it, retested it. But do you want to go long here? It's a tough one, again, because you're trading straight into resistance. You're trading straight into that trend line. And there's a horizontal level through there as well, and the monthly pivot of last month. Tough assignment, guys, really tough assignment. So again, the clarity is not there. So let's wait on that. What for? Well, I want to go short, right? Best place to go short from, up here. So we wait until we get up here. If we get up here, if we don't, then a false break of this trend line, get back underneath the pivots and retest that confluence area. Yeah, that would be nice. So up here, back underneath, retest, short, happy days. And that would, to my mind, confirm this particular scenario. That particular scenario, decent retrace, bang down again, broke the support. This is essentially a lower high on that, but of course we're in the range, so we're looking really for the top here. So again, not crystal clear. Kiwi CAD I added to my watch list, and similarly, we've just got this massive confluence area down here that has already produced a bounce to the high side. It's no longer valid, of course, but it is representing really a false break of that trend line at a confluence area. I've got to be frank with you, since I looked at this yesterday, I've had a bit of a change of heart. I was dead set keen to trade this short, but I'm not so sure anymore. I'm just not so sure. And I think I'll wait and see what price does, but I'm not as keen as I was to get short. And how I changed my mind on that, well, it would have to do this. It would have to break resistance, fail to take out the high, get back underneath the pivots and the trend line, and away we go short. But yeah, as I said, I'm not as keen as I was on Sunday with this. And I can't really tell you why. It's just a feeling that I've got that I may be wrong directionally here. So I'll move on from it and go to pound Kiwi. Pound Kiwi, of course, we've been sweating on this re-entry for quite some time. It's still not there. The weekly chart is showing me that it wants to go back inside this range. If you wanted to trade that bar, would be interesting. But again, you've got a high test bar that precedes it. Not what I like to see. So what do I need to see? Well, I need to see a decent higher low. Is this it? Maybe it is, but it's something I can't trade right now because I don't like to trade that candle and I don't see any other way in. So I've just got to hang in there until something appears that looks like a trade for me. In the first instance, that's probably going to be, once again, a false break of support. So if we could get down to here, get back above here, that confluence area is a little bit deceptive now. In fact, it does look like a false break to the short side. It's not, and I'll tell you why in a sec. But I think that's the best case scenario for me. Break short, fail to take out the low, back above the trend line, retest, and away we go. So that's pretty much my watch list for the week. Why isn't this a false break? Well, because we've gapped down this morning, and the gap doesn't constitute, for mine, a clear re-entry into the, or re-break, if you like, of the trend line. Love the area. It's really, really good because we've come back underneath 2 pivots. Haven't retested them yet, which is a little bit of a concern. So it's a mess. Once again, a mess. Once again, you've got the pivots here that are giving you clear boundaries, and I don't want to bounce off boundaries and get into the market and just, as I say, it's a dodge 'em car market, and I am not going to trade it. So there you go, mate. That is pretty much where I'm at. Hang on, there's a whole lot of questions. It doesn't look like we have any slingshot trade to enter today. I don't think so, Sino, no. Tough day for cryptos. What are the factors or conditions that cause the Forex markets to disfavor slingshot trades and not give us the follow through? Very, very good question, Sino. And it's, to my mind, to do very much with fundamentals. And fundamentals just get in the way sometimes. And that's the way it is. You can have perfectly good technical setups. You can have perfectly good reversal signals. You can have a perfectly good lower high to trade it short. You get in the market, and then suddenly some prick does or says something that just for whatever reason and however swiftly, it can just change the market like that in an instant, like Friday with Trump catching COVID. It means nothing at the end of the day, but the market says it does at that particular moment in time. So at that particular moment in time, the market just goes into some apoplectic fit, and we have sellers that just have to sell, I suppose, based on what they, and I get it, because, you know, if it is a very, very serious scenario, then what the market reacts will follow through. But it's not the case yet. It may never be the case. So, you know, knee-jerk reactions and fundamental announcements are the things that can really upset us as technical traders. And that's why you'll find that I take profit very early on most of my trades, because I don't want to be subject to whipsaws or little announcements that come out of the blue or out of nowhere. That's not my thing. My thing is safety first, and that's why I do what I do, mate. So to answer your question, they're the factors, really. They're fundamental factors that really can get in our way. Of course, they're not the only things. We may miss a support level that we didn't see. You know, we may make mistakes, is what I'm saying. That happens to everybody. The thing is, with mistakes, what you need to do is learn from them and make sure you don't do it again. So fundamentals and mistakes, they're the 2 biggest reasons that get in our way and stop our follow-throughs, mate, I think. There you go, buddy.
Yeah, fair, mate.
It's
fair.
a whole lot of nothing, really.
Yes, it is a whole lot of nothing today. Difficult day. I just saw Helen's question. Was the psychology session recorded? I don't know is the answer to that. I know Paul said it wasn't going to be recorded on Zoom, but you may be able to find it on YouTube. When you left at Wood, one trader in the market mesh your trade up. Do you want me to expand on the one trader aspect? If one trader can mesh your trade up, or did you get that whole piece? I'm quite happy to. No, talking to Helen. Helen's just asking that she's saying that she left after. Yeah, so just on that one piece. Okay, well, so this is the thing about, and we'll do this and then we'll wrap it up. Let me share my screen here. So this is the thing about the one trader aspect, is that we don't know who the players are in the market, for one. Now this is the question for this is the situation for a price. For you to get into a trade, you need to go, if you're selling, you need to be, for the trade to be going down. And it doesn't matter where you sell, as long as the difference between where you sell and where you buy it back, it makes you money. It puts you in profit. But people have got this assumption that the market, is going to move because there's a whole volume of people coming into the market that pushes the market, which can happen. And more often than not, it is more than one player. But the point I was making is that if you've got the euro dollar, for example, then for the euro dollar to go from let me get a vaguely correct price here. That's my euro dollar is at 117. So let's say it's going from 120. For the euro dollar to go from 120 to 121, it only takes one trader in JP Morgan to get on the phone and say buy the euro dollar and the at 120, and the price can push up to 121. And if we think about the psychology of why they might do that, the euro dollar might be doing this. It might be really obvious that we should all be selling, but then it comes back up here again, and for no fundamental reason, the price spikes. For no reason to our knowledge, the price spikes. Now, there might have been a news event, that the timing of this stuff is often around news events and stuff. No, no, you can't. I mean, you obviously got to have enough money to kind of move the market, but the point is that it doesn't have to be. We can assume that it's one company, but somebody within a company. But people leave their trading desks for various reasons during the day, and everybody could be gone, and it could be just a huge, a retail trader, even with a massive account, could decide to buy at that time. And if the other market makers either aren't watching that particular product, or they are out to lunch, or they're taking a call with their wife because their child is screaming at school, or they've had an accident on the way to work, then any number of things could happen, and that one person could drive the price up. So where we've got an edge in the market, for the market to come down, that edge has to be assumed over a number of trades. If we are trading on a one-time basis, if we're putting a lot of pressure on every single trade and saying, "There's my setup, let's load in, it's going to win," then yeah, exactly, Shukri. It could cause a flash crash. Even a robot might have been programmed here. We just don't know. But it only takes one glitch, if you like, in the system for your trade to be negated, your edge to be negated. And if your edge is negated on one trade, then we don't trade on a trade by trade basis. We have to trade with a series of trades, because in the long term, those series with our analysis means that we have got an edge, because over time our edge works out. So we don't put pressure on a trade by trade basis. And we try and look at the trades on a 20, 25 and beyond basis to make sure that we know if we've got an edge or not. And if you've done your analysis and you're losing money after 25 trades, then your edge needs work. So the point is that we're not going to trade on a one, every one time, then one time, and then one time. Now the other thing is, even though the fundamentals might suggest that this market is going down, it only takes a big player to need to liquidate their position. So they want to sell their product. They've bought a load up here. Now they want to sell their product, but they don't want to sell here. But what they can do, and what they often do, is they will drive the price up. And this is why it's all of a sudden you get false breaks. They'll drive the price up to this point here so they can liquidate their position here. Because what they'll do is they'll buy and buy and buy and buy. And the retail traders will come in and go, oh, gosh, the market is going up. I'm going to buy, 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 buy. And then they've got some people to sell to. And then they can just dump off all their positions at that particular point, rather than dumping the market here. Now, the you know, and what you'll, this is the other thing about expecting your setup to work out straight away. Now, if they've been buying all the way up here, they've been buying here, buying here. They've also, so they've got a load up here, and now they've got all these positions as well. If they buy, they can drag some people into the market, get rid of some of these, set their sell on some of these as the market comes back down again. And if they haven't got rid of enough, they'll drive it back up again. Again, do the same thing. You know, they might need less this time to drive the position up, but they'll calculate it so they can continue to dump off their positions to more people that would think, well, that's a pullback, so it's going to go that way, and it doesn't go that way. And if it does go that way, then they'll sell some more. And this is what creates our patterns. They'll sell some more there. They'll sell some more there. Sell some more there on the pullbacks, and then they can drive the market down, and then all of a sudden they're making money. So the big money makers are controlling this market, and we just need to understand how they do it, where you think the market should be going in a direction, and all of a sudden you've put your stop in a particular area, the market goes back up again, you get taken out your trade, and then it goes in your favor. And the reason it can happen is simply because of this. So this is the point about putting sensible stop levels in place, so this sort of stuff doesn't run you over. Which is why you'll see oftentimes, you know, when I'm sort of like looking for a trade, I'll say, well, I'm going to get in here, but I'm going to put my stop up here, and not up some, you know, not just maybe on the trend line or something, not just here. I'm going to put it well out the way. You know, let the big guns come back in again where it's sensible to help me out. Yeah, we should have a session on market makers, actually. You're right. And brokers, because they're both in it to make money, and they'll both take the opposite position to you for many reasons.
Scumbags.
Exactly. Yes, it is LT, but it doesn't matter. It is the market makers in action, but we don't care about those guys, because with an edge, as I say, over a course of 20 trades, if we're going to be 20, 25, 30 trades, if we're going to be professional, then we're going to take our trades on a big pool of trades, rather than just you know, looking for this one and then that one and that one. So we're not going to put the pressure on each trade working out. Not necessary. We need to align with them. You're absolutely right. If we're on the right side with those guys, then we're in good shape.
Understand what they're doing when they're doing
it. Yes. Right, well, let's wrap it up. I think we've actually gone slightly more than I thought we were going to go. We'll be back at 1:30, obviously. Shukri, you got a show today? Is it today you got a show?
Yeah, 7 o'clock.
Shukri show, okay. Shukri show is at, what time is that?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock sing?
Mm.
Okay, so 7 o'clock sing. We have got Shukri.
Changed for me now. I can't even remember what it is anymore. It takes me a while because we went on to daylight saving this week.
Yes, yeah, it does get confusing, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I'll be confused for the next 2 weeks, guys, at least.
So we'll Jeff and I'll be back at 8:30 sing for the free show, and then we'll be going on to the US show at 9 o'clock sing time. So enjoy the rest of your day, guys. As I say, be really careful out there. There's just, you know, the market looks pretty tricky to me, and not much liquidity either, and not much volatility. So to try and get too much money, there's going to be it's going to be a tricky day. Keep your hands in your pockets if you don't see exactly what you need to see. Hacker's wallet. We're going to see a hacker's wallet in Shukri show later on. So that sounds pretty interesting. So watch out for those hackers, Jeff, in your wallet.
You bet I will. Oh, my wallet. That's tomorrow night. That's tomorrow night in the in our US session. Fantastic. What have I got? 70s tonight? Is that right?
Yes.
Easy.
Yes.
Easy,
let's see what you got, mate. See what you're coming with.
Thank you guys for your company. We're out of here. And as Ash says, we'll be back at 8:30 and hopefully we'll find something to do. There may well be something there. We'll see.
Yeah, after ISM, we should be there.